Well, folks, Sean the Average Angler coming at you with another great video, and it is coming into summertime. Summertime means top water, means grass gets growing. Heavy cover, we're going to go in and get them out, folks. So if you're new to this channel, like this kind of content, hit the subscribe button down below. Join the community where we talk about these things, quite often. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about frog fishing. Whoops, I'm throwing that one. That's a little unique one. We're going to get into that too. So we're talking about frog fishing, and not just frog fishing. I'm really going to talk more about areas I like to target that aren't getting hit near as much. And if you're just going past them, you're missing a lot of fish. Let's cover some frogs first, because in my opinion, there's a lot of good frogs out there, and really, to me, there's a few key things. Nowadays, you want a good hook to come in the frog. In the old days, they didn't have a good hook. That's not an issue anymore. Most of the frogs, and especially the ones I have here, pretty good hooks. Let's just start with some basics, and these ones are a little older, and these are, I believe they were called the Snag Proof Phat Frog. Okay, and we'll get into some frogs too that I just don't like. And what is it that I'm looking for when I'm getting a frog? I want to say walkability, but quite honestly, I don't have a problem walking any frog. But I don't think that's always the case for everybody. And so these are all frogs that walk pretty easily. And I think you'll be able to work them as you want without too much of an issue. What I do look for is the good hook and a fairly soft body. Okay, and you want to be able to get a good bite here. Okay, so imagine the fish is biting the frog. You're getting pressure here. We want to see some good point activity there. Now this typically, I would think, is not a lot of bite. And some people may want to bend these points up a little bit. However, this is kind of a low profile frog, and I've never had a problem hooking fish with the Phat Frog. The material's fairly soft. Due to the shape, it walks really, really well. It also casts well, as do most of these frogs. Okay, they've got enough weight. They cast well, they skip well. Legs may, like these, are more to the middle. Others, like this newer Snag Proof frog here, are out wider. I don't really notice a whole lot of difference. Each frog is designed to work with its design, so they've come up with it. They all walk, they all work well, okay? I want a frog that does not sink, lands the proper side down, because if this frog doesn't do this, I'm just showing. If your frog lands upside down, these hook points will have a tendency to grab moss, and then it messes up a whole cast. So I don't like that. This new Snag Proof here, very soft, really good hook points on them, real good strength in these hooks. I like the new Snag Proof. The only thing I see as a downside to this one, this hasn't been thrown a whole lot, and you see the paint is coming off in certain areas. I just think as this gets bit, the paint's gonna wear off. Now, how important is that? I don't know. It tends to be that a lot of times when baits get to looking messed up is when they work the best. So another new frog that I've been messing with, and this is great because these are fairly inexpensive, is the Scum Frog. Okay, at one time a beast of their own, now they are under the American Bait Works umbrella, but they are a little different than the Snag Proof. Okay, you'll see different shape to them, and the most blatant thing I see is the weight system in the back of the bait is different. Now the Scum Frogs work very well. They're very soft. They've got that same great hook. They walk really well. And they're less expensive than a lot of the other choices. Now, one of my favorite frogs, I don't have here, they're in the boat. I don't feel like going and getting the stuff out of the boat, is a Spro. Okay, I really like the Spro Poppin' Frog. Phenomenal frog. It serves a purpose that a lot of other companies don't have, which is that thinner style Poppin' Frog. It's almost like throwing a popper, but in a frog, so you throw a much heavier line, and it just performs when they are on that type of bait. That frog is hard to beat. Okay, one of my other favorites though is the live target. Okay, and they come in a multitude of sizes, guys. Most of these are, this is a fairly good sized frog, but they eat the heck out of this. Again, you're going to see the same thing, right? The frog's pretty soft. It goes down really easy. Good hook on it. Really good colors. Natural, lifelike looking frog. And I do really well with the live targets, assuming you're matching the hatch, meaning this is one of my spawn frogs, one I throw when they're spawning, or the bluegill are up spawning, okay? Because I'm really mimicking a bluegill here with this pattern, more so than a frog. And of course, the old Teckle frog, which is great as a buzzbait. So you throw it, cast it, retrieve it, the tail spins. And these, when they first came out, were extremely effective. They're still very effective. They're good for throwing through pads, weeds, those kinds of things where you think, hey, it'd be great to throw a buzzbait through here, but of course you can't throw a buzzbait. That Teckle frog does a really good job of it. So with that in mind, let's go over a little bit about rods, okay? They have rods that are frog specialty rods. Me personally, I'm not overly picky on frog rods, and a lot of times I tend to like that 7.3 to 7.5 medium heavy for a lot of applications, and we're going to talk a little bit about applications. This rod I have in my hand here is a iRod Gen 3 754, and it is called the Magic Stick, if you can see that right there. It is a 7'5" rod, heavy. It is a frog rod for that of other things also. Now I'm going to go to the longer rod in a couple of situations. One, I'm fishing matted cover. Another might be because there's a need for me to make a really long cast and I need a little longer rod for hook setting purposes. That aside, I don't get too heavy of an actioner rod because I just don't feel I need it with my hook set, and it hurts my shoulder if the rod is too stiff. So I like something that's got some bend to it, but is stout, if that makes any sense. This frog, by the way, is another really good one, and I know there's a lot of mixed reviews on it, but this is a Berkley Poppin' Frog. Again, it meets the criteria. Really soft material, good hook on it. It pops and walks really, really well. And I like this color because instead of like most frogs that's white, this is more bone, if you will. Anyway, that's another frog I really like. And you'll see it on another one of the rods I'm going to show you. Now, the 754 is, call it an extra frog rod, because this is really the rod I prefer for my open water applications, which we're going to talk about because I probably fish more open water frog fishing than I do matted or vegetated. This is an iRod Quercus 724 heavy Bobby's Perfect Frog Rod Junior. It's a 7'2". Now the great thing about this rod is the tip, and this is the ticket to a frog rod. You need some tip, but go into a firm, stout backbone. Reason being, well, there's several. Number one, castability. We need to be accurate. And this is exactly what I use this rod for. Accurate casting and workability of the frog. That tip allows you to walk the frog really, really well. That tip allows you to make precise pinpoint casts and set it in there softly. This is important when you're open water fishing, and trust me, if you're not open water fishing, you are leaving a lot of fish behind. My third and final, and this one right now does not have braid on it, but this is a fantastic rod. This is an iRod Quercus 744C heavy, H for heavy, Bass Warriors workhorse. This rod was designed by Luis Fernandez as kind of a do-everything rod. Okay, for him, he's got a bunch of these rods in his boat, and he likes to do a lot of stuff with them. I do too. You can do a whole lot of things with it. You can jig fish, you can frog fish, you can topwater fish with spooks, buzz baits, whopper plopper, big spinner baits. The list goes on and on. It's a very versatile rod, but it works well for all of them. So that kind of fits my happy medium, okay? The 7'4" is just more comfortable to be working and walking a frog than a 7'5", 7'6", 7'9", those kinds of things. Things that are going to be in common in all of them. 65-pound braid. I'm not overly particular on the brand. Most of the main name brands, I can be perfectly happy throwing a frog with. My reels are going to be 7.2 to 1s, 7.3 to 1s, and 8.1 to 1s. Pick your poison. If you're making long casts and you're just working at short areas, then you probably want a higher speed reel to pick up the line faster, right? If you are casting into tighter areas and working that bait closer quarters, then the 7.3 or 7.2 is fine. Really, whatever works for you. Kind of one of those things. Again, I'm not overly particular about my frog setup as long as I have a good reel, a good rod that has tip but backbone, and then a solid drag on the reel, okay? I use Daiwa, I use Shimano. I'm fine with either one. The Shimanos I would use is a Shimano Bantam. You didn't see them on these rods. I tend to like these reels I've been frog fishing with for quite a while. I just started getting into the Shimano, so I'm very comfortable with them. They're what had braid on it. As you saw on the Bass Warrior, it didn't have braid on it. That's because I've been doing other stuff with that one. Same thing for the Teckle Sprinkler Frog, Sprinkle Frog, Sprinkler, Sprinker, Sprinker, I don't know. Anyway, 65-pound braid. I can throw it on any of those. I'd probably prefer that 744 Bass Warrior workhorse for this one. Just a good matchup for it. And that's basically a chunk and wind frog. So pretty cool in that aspect. A lot of times I fish open water. And when I say open water, I mean water that is not choked out with weeds. Doesn't mean that there's no weeds down there. Doesn't mean that there's not trees overhanging. Could be overhanging trees are a great place, especially when the sun's high, so you get some shade and you cast it up under there and walk it out. I love doing this on riprap banks. If you got riprap banks, I will throw it right on the bank, walk it out a couple feet, and I'm pulling it up, making another cast. These are great areas to catch frogfish that I think just don't see a whole lot of frogs because people think you need to have mats. Now, mat fishing is awesome, and when you get a big fish come exploding up through the mat, it's exciting. However, a lot of people do that. Most people do that. I fish a frog only tournament every year, and I just find that those places are getting hit by pretty much everybody. So I'm always looking for something different where I can get some bites that not everybody else is fishing. Popping frogs versus walking frogs. First of all frogs will walk. So the popping frogs walk just fine. It's just a little different action and sound. Okay, sometimes they really want that spitting sound, the little splash. Sometimes they want a more stealthy kind of walking it in place, right? You need to figure out what the fish want on that given day, and different fish may want different frogs. So that's why I go out with several frogs rigged up. Sometimes it's just a color change. Sometimes it's a popping and a walking. Sometimes it's a walking and a Teckle frog. Expand your mind on where you anticipate throwing a frog. Let me give some other places that can be really good choices. Down the side of a dock. Skip it up under a floating dock. You can fish a frog over laydowns. It's a great place to fish a frog. As mentioned, riprap banks. Anywhere where there's a little pocket of shade can be another great place. It's really endless. We're thinking about ambush points for fish, and it doesn't have to be very big, folks. It can be a fairly small 1 to 2 square foot area. That's all you got to do is fish that little area. Cast it up there in that little shade pocket with high sun. You're not working it very far. You might want to make a few casts there if you really believe there's a fish. Sometimes it takes more than one cast to get them to go, but it'll be worth it when you get that bite. All right, hope that helped you guys out. I'm Sean, the Average Angler. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.